Hey everyone, welcome back. I guess this is kind of a special Friday episode, I guess you could say. We didn't do one yesterday, or at least I didn't do one yesterday because it was Halloween. We were out trick-or-treating with the kids, and then I had my brother-in-law, sister-in-law come in with their kids, and went into the night. So we didn't do one yesterday, but we'll do one today because we got a lot to cover today. We have Bitfarms providing us with their production update for October. We have an explanation as to why their hash rate hasn't really grown, which is good and bad at the same time. And then we have also Cipher providing us with Q4 numbers. Cleanspark finalizing the deal with Griid. We got that. And I think lastly, we have Microsoft getting into business with CoreWeave for possibly a number of years here. We'll talk about that also. So we have a lot to go through. Also what Bitcoin did, miners as well. That's all got to get covered as well. But you guys know the drill. Not financial advice for entertainment only. Full disclosure down below. Please do your own research. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And thank you so much for coming in, spending the Friday night with me. Greatly appreciate you guys for doing that. And let's get into here what's going on with Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin has been on a 3-day slide here. We peaked at 73,624 this week. And then we've been on a slide down, right? So that's not good. I was hoping that we would maybe have a little bit more strength going into the end of the month here. But it is what it is right now. Bitcoin is still up about, well, it finished out October with being up, what is it here? 10%, 10.76% on the month here, right there. And it's looking like I keep saying, it's looking like the 2016 cycle, 2015 cycle, where Bitcoin was up 14.7% in October then. It was up only 6% in September, which we're up 7.29 in September. So it's looking still the same here, which could bode well for us going into 2025, as it might be like 2017 cycle, which was really good for us, right? So that still is in play. Based on the 2016 cycle, I would expect November to be, it might be lackluster here, depending on how it plays out, but we were only up 5% in November at that time. So we'll see where we end up in November for this year. But then in December, I had a pretty good month here, so that would be a good sign for us potentially. All right, we'll keep an eye on it, see where things are going. If things change, like I keep saying, we might have a different cycle. But right now, it's still looking similar to what we've had in the past, at least. The miners here today were pretty much down. They were down yesterday as well. Some miners were actually up today. Bitdeer was up a little bit here, 0.51%. Cipher was up 6.49%. Hut was up a little bit, 1.4%. And Riot was up a little bit as well, 2.6%. Other than that, everybody else was down a little bit, at least. Not much. A couple percentage points overall. But on Bitcoin here on the forward chart, it does seem to be hugging the 50 simple moving average here on the 4 hours. So there might be a good sign there. If it's hugging that right now, see if we can get a bounce off of it. I'm guessing we won't see much of a price action here over the weekend, maybe until Sunday night going into Monday timeframe. We might see maybe a pump at that point, but time will tell. Okay. Now, network hash rate here as well has been increasing like crazy here. This is on the 30-day average. We are now at 704 exahash. So that is still in line with my estimates for this end of year, which I'm guessing between 800 and 900 exahash for the network hash rate. And that's been, I've been saying that since probably the beginning of the year here. I thought this is kind of where we would end up at, and it's kind of playing out that way. So in a way it's good, in a way it's bad also, because the network hash rate increase is going to generate less revenue for the miners that are operating, unless they're actually installing more hash rate going forward. So we have that of a concern for them. Unless Bitcoin really starts rallying here, that doesn't really matter for them at that point. Okay, but we have that. So let's get into the stories that we do have here. The first one is going to be on Bitfarms. So Bitfarms provided their operations update for 2024 October. And here's what we have from them. This is a quote from CEO Ben Gagnon. He stated, "While we are pleased to have reached our year-end efficiency goal of 21 watts per terahash, 3 months ahead of schedule, we recognize that we are behind schedule on delivering our mid-year 12 exahash target. Despite improvements in recent miner shipments, continued miner warranty servicing has impeded the achievement of our hash rate target. We have a strong partnership with Bitmain and appreciate their diligence in rapidly servicing the underperforming miners, as deliveries are scheduled to accelerate in the last 2 months of the year." Okay, I made a post on it on X today. Yes, okay. So it's disappointing that they haven't reached their 12 exahash target. It's also disappointing that it's taken them this long to come out with a reason as to why. So at least we know why that is the case. And this is something that's beyond their control. So I'm giving you a little bit more leeway on that, and not only to them, but to anybody, any of the miners actually, that have issues with things that are out of their control. So that means miner deliveries. It also means any power hookups or things like that, right? Things that are beyond their control that they really can't control. So I'm okay with this. This is actually pretty good news because otherwise it'd be like, okay, are you guys having issues with Paraguay? Also, no mention of Paraguay here as far as what that is progressing like. But as far as operations did improve here a little bit here in October, which was kind of good, a little bit good at least. They mined 236 Bitcoin compared to 217 in September. Month-end operating hash rate was 11.5, so about 200 petahash was installed here. And then they sold a little bit more here of Bitcoin, 194 Bitcoin instead of 173 the prior month. They did generate more, so they're selling a little bit more of it as it is. What else do we have here? Bitcoin HODL has increased as well. They added 42 BTC to bringing treasury to 1,188. And that's valued at approximately 84.3 million, but that was at Bitcoin price of 71,000, so it's probably down a little bit here also. And then lastly here, the synthetic HODL has increased to 802 long-dated BTC call options at October 31st, 2024, up from 602 at the end of the prior month here. So they are doing the synthetic HODL as well. We'll see how that works out. Should work out pretty well for them, depending on how far out they are on the long-dated BTC call options on it. Okay, so there's that. Let's take a look at the numbers that we do have here for them. So Bitfarms right now that I have for them, at least, is 451 million shares outstanding. Market cap is about 839 million. The performance over the 12 weeks has not been great. They're down 16% from 12 weeks ago. They're only up 6% from 8 weeks ago, and they were down from 4 weeks ago, 5.9%, and last week they were down 7.7%. So not this past week, but the prior week to that. I'm going to be updating the numbers here for the current week over the weekend. Current hash rate 11.5, future hash rate about 21 exahash, right, is what they're targeting. Plus, they're talking about that they could possibly get to 35 exahash with the acquisition of Stronghold, which is supposed to close sometime in Q1 of next year. And then they have possibility to grow that even more, depending on how many megawatts they can put into all those places. Bitcoin HODL 1,188. That's valued at only 9% of their market cap right now. So that's actually pretty low. It seems like they're being valued more on their operations and their HODL, which is good. And the BTC mined has improved here a little bit, like we talked about, 236. That's the best in the last 3 months, so that's good. What else do we have here? Revenue. Revenue increased to 15.48 million. That is based on Bitcoin price also going up. They're mining more. We also had one more day in September compared to, one more day in October compared to September. And then BTC HODL has continued to increase here, which is nice to see. Hash rate difference increased a little bit, obviously, 200 petahash. We talked about that. Bitcoin sold, they've been selling a little bit more here as time goes on in the last 2 months, it looks like. And then BTC per exahash efficiency improved a little bit for them to 20.5 now instead of the 19.2 that they had in September. So that's looking pretty good there. What else? We'll get into some of these things. Oh, I forgot to update the institutions on them. That's what I forgot to do today. We'll have to do that. I'll get that updated for the Patreon members later on tonight or over the weekend sometime. I'll get that updated. And you guys were getting something on this. What else do we have here? Let's see. Okay. As far as the machines being installed here the past month, I did install or added another like roughly 200 petahash of these T21s here, looks like, for October. If we go over here and then have them operating for about 28.37 days on average, added also about 1.17 million in Bitcoin transaction fees added to it as well. And that got us to the 15.47 million in revenue here on it. So the good thing is revenue is increasing, which is good. Bitcoin's going up. That's also helping things out. A couple questions that I still have for them and have not heard a response yet is Paraguay. What's going on with Paraguay as they are installing more machines at Stronghold, another 10,000 machines. So it's kind of like, is there any issues at Paraguay? I'd like to hear some information on that. They are going to have probably a conference call when they report their Q3 results. Not sure exactly when that's going to be. But when they do that, hopefully somebody asks them about that. That'd be interesting to find out. What is the cause for moving more machines into Stronghold? Could that be because, well, one, you already have them coming in, so and that site ready, you could put them in there, or are there actual issues at Paraguay's site, or the 2 sites I think they have in Paraguay? But that is it. So not great, not bad, somewhere in the middle of all this stuff. As you guys know, I'm still invested in them. I'm giving them another month, basically, to get their hash rate up a little bit more here. I'd like to see it closer to probably like 15 exahash, because if they're still targeting 21 exahash by the end of the year, which they didn't state here in the press release, but they have been stating it for a while here, if they're still targeting 21 exahash, they need to get at least to 15, so then they can get to another possibly 6 exahash being installed in December. The only thing is Ben has been stating from the beginning that a lot of their growth is going to be happening in like November, December to get to 21 exahash based on their build out in Paraguay and everything else. So time will tell on that one. But I still have a pretty high conviction in them that they will do really good going forward, mainly because of their growth, their operations, things like that. But, we'll see on that one. All right, that's it for Bitfarms here. Let's take a look at Cipher. Cipher reported their quarterly results here as well yesterday. Yesterday was Halloween, so I did miss this opportunity to talk to you guys about this, but they had a loss of 87 million roughly, including everything, so it wasn't a great quarter for them, but there's a lot of expenses that are not cash-based on it. We'll go through all this stuff here really quick on it as well, but here's what we have as far as financial and operational highlights. The complete acquisition of 300 megawatt Barber Lake data centers site, which is good. Complete acquisition of 70 megawatt Reveal data center site, which may be expanded to 200 megawatts and is well suited for both HPC and Bitcoin mining data centers. They signed an option to acquire 1.5 gigawatts of new sites in Texas that are also suitable for both HPC and Bitcoin mining. And they upgraded their Odessa site, bringing total self-mining hash rate to 13.5. Remains on track for Q4 2024. Construction of the 300 megawatt data at Black Pearl progressing well with expected energization in Q2 of next year. And then Q3 2024 net loss of 87 million or 26 cents per diluted share. And adjusted loss of 3 million or 1 cent per diluted share. Okay. I did not get a chance to listen into the webcast on this one. I was busy actually at that time. So I'll try and listen to it over the weekend, get some insight on that. If I find anything that was interesting in there, I'll definitely pass it on to you guys at that point. But if we look at where Cipher's right here. Okay. So Cipher has updated shares now, 347 million outstanding, stock price at 525 as of today, market cap 1.8 billion right now. They've had a really good run here in the last 12 weeks, actually really, really good. They're up 34% from 12 weeks ago, up 102% from 8 weeks ago, 33% from 4 weeks ago, and then last week, the prior week, they were up 10% roughly. A lot of that is being driven by the HPC AI play there with them, potential, right? There's nothing concrete, but they talk about it, and we see the companies that are talking about HPC AI and talking with potential hyperscalers and things like that. Those companies are getting a nice run up in price here recently. We saw that with Cipher, we saw it with TeraWolf, we saw that also with who else was in there? BitDigital to a certain extent as well, obviously CORZ as well in there. But we're not looking at the monthly updates here. We're looking at the last 4 quarters revenue. So Q3 came in at, what was it? Q3 came in at 24.1 million, right? Current quarter, I'm estimating about 25.5, but that'll change depending where Bitcoin price goes up on it. So they had a decrease in revenue because they haven't been installing their hash rate or installing any miners recently, or at least not much installation. I mean, you can see it here. Their hash rate has been growing slowly, but it's slow, right? You're not outpacing the hash rate network growth, and that's what you really need to do in order to do that. Plus, with Bitcoin being pretty stagnant during that quarter as well, doesn't help on things. Last 4 quarters operating costs stayed about the same, 23.98 million from 22.65, so that's fine. Cost of mining 1 Bitcoin way up, 35,000 here based on my calculations that I could figure out from their reporting. Bitcoin mined quarterly, that was down 427 from 559 in the prior quarter. Debt to equity went up a little bit here, 0.15, but still really good. Current ratio went down also to 2.5. That's because they used cash and things like that to buy the sites recently. Okay, total current assets was down to 151. Like I said, they were buying sites, so that was used partially on that. And then total current liabilities only at 59 million, so still really good balance sheet here for them. On it. Going down into these numbers here, we'll get into some of these metrics here in a second. Going down here, total current assets, we covered that, 151. That's down from 309, but they bought sites, so that's fine. Total assets is now at 775 million. That's pretty much the same where it was in Q2, 775. So what has really changed here? Deposit equipment increased on it. Property equipment also increased. What else do we have? That was a major change. Intangible assets went up a little bit as well. So that's basically the difference here is the driving force, deposits and equipment. So that's why that's staying pretty level. Current liabilities up to 59. We talked about that a little bit. What really increased here a lot was accrued expenses. Went up to 40 million from 17.8. Total liabilities, 103 million, mostly driven by the accrued expenses here. Everything else pretty much stayed the same here. Tax deferred liabilities actually went down to 6.5 from 10.5. And then total liabilities and stockholder equity stayed the same pretty much, 775 million as it is. Okay, the revenues, 24 million, right? Cost of revenues was 15 million here, looks like, on it. Compensation benefits, 14.7. General administrative was 8.9. Depreciation was 28, up a little bit here from where it was the prior quarter. Change in fair value, also, I think this is on Bitcoin price going up. That's 48.5 million maybe. Looks like it, because they had a decrease here. I'm guessing that's from that. What else do we have here? Total cost of operating expenses, 115 million. Cost of revenue, negative 91 million, right? And then we have here cost of revenue minus depreciation was 23.9 million. That's my calculations, the blue ones. That's gross profit here, looking at those. Other income, not much. Loss before taxes, 90 million, right? We talked about that. Net gain, negative 86 million on it, right? So that's basically, so this, I mean, things are looking pretty good here. They're not that bad. The big things was the depreciation, right? That was pretty big, 28. What else was there? That was kind of big. I think that was basically it. Yeah, basically, but revenues were down, so that's another reason why things are increasing here. Going up here to some of the metrics here, we talked about debt to equity, current ratio, we talked about that. Cost of mine, we also talked about that being at 35,000 here roughly. What else do we have here? Book to value of equity, BVE, 671 million. Price to book ratio 2.7, or price was 1.8. EBITDA was negative 62 from my calculation on it, at least. EV to EBITDA was negative 28. Stock-based compensation, okay. So I pulled this from note 16 and 10Q report. They showed it at 10.2 million here. So that is based, stock-based compensation percent of revenue is 42%. That's pretty high. So we'll keep an eye on this for the other companies as well, see where they're popping in at here, but that's pretty high here. Revenue, we talked about that. General administrative, let's see here. General administrative compensation, the total. So that's a combination of compensation benefits plus general administrative. That was 23.6 million. That's 98% of the revenues. That's really high. Okay, if we take out the stock-based compensation part of things, then we're still at 55%. That's still pretty high on it. So a lot of this is solved when companies get to scale. And getting to scale for them is going to be like getting to above 20 exahash potentially. Or if they can get an actual HPCI customer there as well. I think that would be a saving grace for a lot of these costs here, because then you're generating a heck of a lot more revenue. And as long as your general administrative costs go up slightly, I'm sure they're going to go up, but if they don't get exorbitant, you're going to be able to save at that point, and your numbers are going to look a lot better. So I keep saying for a lot of these miners, it's about getting to scale, and they need to do that quickly here. Okay. I think that is it on that one. Yeah. Okay, so overall, not too bad, considering all things that they have a lot more growth going into 2025, and Bitcoin hopefully is going to go up at that point as well. Okay. Next here is going to be on Cleanspark. So Cleanspark completes acquisition of Griid infrastructure. We knew about this for a while here. This is a quote from Zach Bradford. I'm pleased to announce the completion of our acquisition of Griid Infrastructure, Inc., a strategic move that allows us to grow our Bitcoin mining capacity in the state of Tennessee. So that's good. So they now have Tennessee, I believe, Kentucky, Georgia, Wyoming as well. So they got 4 states they're in right now, I believe. So that's really good and diversified there. Let's see here. State of Tennessee, which we intend to build out to over 400 megawatts in the coming years. Says Zach Bradford. Moreover, this adds significant geographic and power supply diversity through expansion in Tennessee Valley Authority service territory, providing us with additional operational flexibility, which is true. So that's great. Right, Cleanspark has been one of the best performers here since basically the bear market. Under the terms of the merger agreement originally announced on June 27th, each share of Griid common stock was converted into approximately 0.06959 of share of Cleanspark common stock at an effective time of the merger. Not sure exactly how many shares were issued on that. I'm sure we're going to have some dilution in the stock because of it, but I think this is a good get, right? Being able to add an additional 400 megawatts in Tennessee is going to be a huge growth driver for them going forward into the next couple of years. So that's good to have. Okay, so that's it on Cleanspark here. Lastly, the one that we want to talk about here really quick. I found this to be quite interesting because we've been talking about Microsoft buying 3 Mile Island, or at least leasing 3 Mile Island. to use those nuclear power site there to power their future endeavors into HPC AI and data centers. But this came out just today here. So Microsoft to spend almost $10 billion renting AI servers from CoreWeave. This is a report. So we know CoreWeave is getting megawatts from Core Scientific. Core Scientific is making a lot of money from CoreWeave. And this is just a snowball effect. So CoreWeave is making money from Microsoft. Core Scientific is making money off CoreWeave. Okay. CoreWeave is basically coming like a AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, whatever you want to call it. They're becoming one of those types of players here in this space, which is kind of interesting, considering they came from basically nothing and have done a really fantastic job here over the last, I would say, probably year and a half to 2 years maybe. But the benefit for Core Scientific was the previous working relationship with CoreWeave, which they were hosting their GPUs and things like that for them in the past when they were mining Ethereum as well. But here's the details on this. I thought this was pretty interesting. So Microsoft could spend almost $10 billion between 2023 and 2030. And if you remember, I believe it was Microsoft and the 3 Mile Island deal that was going to be up and running within a couple of years. So this kind of makes sense. They're going to be renting servers for artificial intelligence startup CoreWeave. The information reported. The amount is larger than previously known and represents more than half of the $17 billion total signed contracts CoreWeave has with customers. The news outlet added, citing comments the company made to investors. So CoreWeave has $17 billion, right? They're paying, what are they paying? What is it, $12 billion, I think it is? 12 to $13 billion? Is it? I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm going off my memory, which my memory could be off here. But I know it's at least between 8 and 12 billion that CoreWeave is paying Core Scientific on it. So they are going to be able to pay those without a problem here going forward. And they're going to be generating some revenue on top of it as well. CoreWeave and Microsoft did not immediately respond to a request for comment, obviously. CoreWeave, which is backed by NVIDIA, is preparing for initial public offering in 2025, according to previous media results. That might be an interesting one to take a look at. Maybe not get into it at the IPO. I think a lot of times when companies go public, people that get into them at that point, I've learned my lesson, is basically their exit liquidity at that point for some of the investors. And then recently, CoreWeave secured a $650 million credit line from several investment banks. Prior to the credit facility, CoreWeave had raised $12.7 billion in equity and debt financing over the past 12 months, including a $7.5 debt financing round in May. So they're definitely well funded as it is, and they've been growing like crazy. They've been growing in England and other places as well. They're spending billions here, billions there. It's all over the place that they are investing in. But this is kind of interesting. For Microsoft to go with CoreWeave, right, which CoreWeave is going to get the HPC AI part of their business with Core Scientific basically up and running in the next, I would say, 6 to 9 months roughly, right? We're talking about sometime in the first half of 2025. They didn't go with anybody else. They didn't go with TeraWulf. They didn't go with IREN. They didn't go with Cipher because those guys need to build out, and that's going to take a long time. So I can see why they're going with them, along with Microsoft has plans to build their own data centers also all over the place. And they're going to be spending a lot of money along with Amazon and Meta and whoever else is in this space. They're all vying for that, that top spot there. So it's pretty interesting here. We'll see how this impacts any of the miners that are getting into HPC-AI, like IREN, Cipher, TeraWulf, notably, but Digital as well. We'll see how those guys play out in the next 6 months. Right now, we've had a lot of hype around this space, but not a lot of news regarding those miners getting those types of deals. So we'll keep an eye on it. All right, but that is basically it, I believe. I think I've covered everything I want to talk to you guys about, or at least provide you with. Now let's get into the Q&A side of things, see what you guys have to say. And then we'll get into basically calling it a day, having a good weekend, hopefully. Let me go back over here and see what we got here as far as comments and questions. And as always, the spreadsheets that I have are available to my Patreon members. You guys know that. The link is down in the description for that if you want to take part in that. And anytime I update the spreadsheets, I will update it on Patreon as well. And for YouTube members, at least every week or 2 weeks. Let me see if I can find some questions here. I'm going to catch up a little bit. You guys have been busy already commenting quite a bit here. Let's see. Sean says, looking good, Seb. Thank you so much. Hope you guys are enjoying your Friday. Okay, Ravi C. Have the miners started downtrending? Cleanspark did not do well compared to other miners. Your thoughts? No, Bitcoin was going down for the past 3 days. So some of the miners that were catching a little bit of a green days was, what do we have? We had a couple here today. It wasn't that bad. Cipher, right, was one of them. Hut and Riot a little bit. Right, Wolf was down, so it's kind of mixed a little bit on it. Not really sure what's going on there, but I think it's Bitcoin going down. I think that's the main reason why. Give it time. We talked about November being possibly a mixed month, being up only a couple percentage points. We'll see if that's the case. But then hopefully December will be a much better month for us. Okay. 2016 circle in December was amazing. 10 USD will come. Let's go Bitfarms. That'd be great. Yeah. Roger says, cycle's over, boys. Double top. See in 4 years. I don't think it's done and over with. If it is, then yeah, that'll be way, way, way underwhelming. We're still too early for this, I think. I mean, we're only 6 months past the halving event. It is already a different cycle. We had the new all-time high before the halving event. That's never happened before. But a lot of people are still calling for Bitcoin to go to like 150, 200,000, 250,000. So time will tell. What else here? Okay. Okay, here we go. Hey, so the miners performs as of late is concerning the taking 2x their exahash since May 24, but the price per share is now half of May. Can you explain why am I so optimistic? Because I don't think we're in the peak bull run yet. I think we're just getting into it right now. Within the next 2 months, I believe, right? Whether November's going to be a good month for us, which if you look at the chart historically for November, let me see, where is it at? I just had it over here someplace. There it is. Okay, if we look at it here, November, last time we were, if you're referencing that it appears like it's a similar cycle to 2015, 2016. November was only up 5% at 2016, right? But we had a really good 2017. And this is kind of playing out that way. December here should be really good for us if it plays out the same way as 2016 cycle. And then 2017 was really great. So if 2025 is similar to that, then we're going to do really well. That's why I'm thinking that this is not over just yet. We still have a couple more months to go, 9 to 12 months possibly, before everything is said and done with this cycle. Okay, let's see. Okay. Roger asks, why would you come back when bull market is at top? You make money on bear market buys. It's best to stay during then. Logic, but okay, you guys are communicating back and forth. Hey, so could the price and action and volatility in Bitcoin miners happening because of elections? Thank you. Could be a little bit of that, but I don't know how much there is of that. I mean, let's take a look at, we've talked about this in the past as well. Right, we had a cycle here in 2016, election cycle. Bitcoin at that point was only up 5% in November, 14% in October. We are up 10% in October now. 2020, Bitcoin was up 27%. That was an election year as well, right? And then November was up 42%, and along with December. So it seems to me like it's playing out this way. But normally when you look at the cycles, it doesn't seem like there's much correlation to the election as far as which way the stock goes. I mean, it seems like it's going up anyways, regardless of the elections. So I don't think so. What else we got? Let's see. Mike says it's a bull market and a child could look at the chart and see that Bitcoin just needs leverage to be wiped out. Okay. Yeah. Sarah Mellon says, very disappointed in Bitfarms, even more disappointed that Ben lied on an interview 2 weeks ago saying they were on track for 21 exahash by the end of the year. They're trying to say they'll get to 35 next year. No way. They didn't mention anything about the 21 exahash. Yes, this report. So I'll give you that. But he did say that 2 weeks ago in an interview, which I'm still thinking that's possible. He's been saying all along that a lot of their growth is going to be in November and December. So we'll see. I'm not throwing them out just yet. Okay. Hi, Bright and Cipher ugly earnings report didn't hurt them at all. Particularly, does that mean strength on both stocks? That did a lot better than Cleanspark as far as price performance the last 2 days. Maybe, yeah. It's also could be that a lot of that was already priced in potentially, right? We knew that the numbers were not going to be great in Q3 for a lot of these guys here. So I think that also went along with it. What else we got here? Okay. Are you still buying Bitfarms, or is this a hold? I would be buying if I had the cash. Like I told you guys a couple times already in these streams, that I'm trying to save up a little money for vacations, taxes, property taxes coming up here as well later on. So I got to put some money aside. Okay. Andrew says, I've come to the conclusion that Chris Summoner must be paid by Jason Less, or is Jason Less to talk up Riot. That share-based compensation is criminal robbery, and for that reason, I'm selling my shares. Yeah, I mean, they've given out a lot of shares this year. It is a lot. We'll get to you there. Okay. Let's see. I already have a decent bag of Cleanspark and Bitfarms, but I bought them on this dip. What do you think about that? I'd love it, right? I'd be buying the dip with you if I had the cash. So I still think that we're nowhere near the top. I think the miners will do great if it's a repeat of the cycles we've had in the past. If it's a different cycle where it's an extended cycle, which is not looking like it is yet, then we might be in trouble. But right now, I still think it's a repeat of the cycles we've had. Okay. Mr. Robinson says, I'm also considering adding some IREN around 9. Do you think it is still a good price? Yes, I do. Okay. Nixon says, keep DC and Cleanspark while my cost down to 12.50. Nice. IREN is 50% off their fair value. I think so too. That's a buying BTC leverage 2x. This pays dividends as well. Yeah, when Bitcoin's going up, that's great. But if Bitcoin's going down, that's also not good. But that's a good way to play it also. Your personal outlook after the election on Riot, Cipher, and Cleanspark, and price to the end of November. Geez, if we're looking at historically, right, where the cycles have been in the past, if we're at the same cycle of 2015, 2016, I think we might be up only 5 to 10% at that point. So it's not going to be a huge gainer for us from where we finished out the month of October. But then December should be a really good month. So we'll see. It's not easy to really pick and figure out where things are going to be. We can look at historical values and see what we can gather out of that. Right? I'd love to be surprised that we were up like 15, 20% in November. That'd be great, but I don't know that. Let's see. We still good for $70 IREN and Cleanspark. Loaded up some more IREN today. Yes, but we will get those prices updated when we see their quarterly results, or in Cleanspark's case, it's going to be annual results. We'll see how much they diluted. That might have a little bit of an impact as far as where I think they might go. But remember, my numbers are also conservative. They could go blowing past that because of FOMO, everything else that happens. So right now it's still the case, yes, but that will get updated. If Bitcoin gets to 80,000, IREN should be 20 plus, possibly. Yeah. What else? Okay. The way I look at it is most of the miners' businesses plans are a scam. We just need Bitcoin to go up and take advantage of the narrative, because they will all rise for a certain time when BTC will rise. Yes, and the reason it rises is because there's so much more profitability in place at that point. With Bitcoin going up, they're mining it at 27, 30,000, 35,000, whatever it might be, but Bitcoin's at 150, 180,000. That's a lot of profit there. Any price target for Cleanspark after dilution? Yeah, we'll get that updated. That's going to be something I'm going to be definitely looking out for when they report their fiscal year-end numbers, which are probably going to be in the next I'm guessing, maybe in the next 4 weeks. We'll see. Thoughts on Griffin, since the debt restructuring, the upside could be similar to Core. That I have a hard time believing. Griffin is a very small miner. I think you're talking about Griffin because you typed in Gripen. I think you're talking about Griffin. Small miner, less than 1 exahash. Most of the stuff that they have is hosted also. So it might be tough. What is the cost to mine 1 Bitcoin? Depending on the company and depending on their cost. So some companies have reported that I think Cleanspark's at like 27, IREN's at like 25,000. Looks like Cipher and Riot were at least around in the 30s. So it's not that bad. Let's see here. Ed, I see your comment. I like Bryce and Anthony also. Um, you know, they got a business going, so you got to pay people. You need to bring in revenue. Let's see. Let's see. Ed says, yesterday I watched a video of you hosting Anthony on January 2024. It was really good. I wish I had known you guys back then. Could you invite him again so we can ask him live questions? Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we can do something around like Thanksgiving or something like that when things are a little bit slower. We'll be able to do that. But it's kind of tough to get us in the same place together because she's, what is it, like 6 hours ahead of me. And then I work during the day, so that's tough. We could possibly do it on the weekends, maybe. I'll see if he's up to it. But that was fun, yeah. I definitely enjoy Anthony. He's got a lot of also knowledge, and I always ask him questions on some of the financial things because he's an accountant. I'm not, so. And then he asked me about some of the operations side of things. We have a great working relationship where we've now going on probably like 2.5 years, I think. We've been in contact with each other, so that's always fun. Let's see. Still see BTC over 80,000 by the end of December. If not, what level? I think we'll be we'll be over 80,000, I think. If we only go up 5% in November, on, let's just say, because of historical numbers that we've seen here, what would that bring us to? That would bring us to almost 80,000 at that point, roughly, like 76, 77,000, something like that. And then if December is a really good month, we're up 20 some odd percent, we could be close to 100,000 by that time. Okay. Does MicroStrategy behave like a miner? In a sense, yes. In a sense, I mean, by Bitcoin going up, MicroStrategy goes up, right? MicroStrategy is a different model altogether because they're just stacking Bitcoin all the time. So, yes, in that regard, they do. However, the miners, when they do go into this bull run, they typically outpace MicroStrategy. At least historically they have. I'm expecting the same result to happen this time around because they're mining it at a much lower cost than what MicroStrategy is buying it at. Okay. Roger says, yeah, MicroStrategy is the best miner. They get BTC easier via mining glitch. No investment in rigs, infrastructure, etc. Good to have some in your portfolio. Yeah, I would agree. Let's see. Griid in bankruptcy? No. Griid just got bought out by Cleanspark. That was finalized today, I think. Would you swap Cipher for Bitfarms? That's a good question. Cipher has a lot. I mean, depending when you bought into it, maybe at that point, if you're up, 100%, 200%, whatever it might be, 300%, maybe. Cipher has a lot more going on, right? They keep talking about the HPCI potential, so I'm not discounting that. If they get that, then the stock is going to do really well. But can they get that? That's the other question. Bitfarms, I think, is more beaten down because, well, they're behind on their hash rate targets. Right now, they had issues with the warranty servicing on those as well. Those are delayed. So that's not helping the stock out. They are, that's a tough one, right? I don't know. Cipher has more growth going into next year, though, as well. But, yeah, I don't know. That's your call on that one. That's a tough one. Said, will you be dollar costing out of Bitfarms within the next 2 months, or beliefs still exist in them to start performing like the other major miners? I'm giving them another month, right? I'd like to see more hash rate installed than what we've seen here. I'd like to see them install at least, what are we talking about, 10,000? They're getting 20,000 machines in there. That should be like around 4 exahash at least, if they get delivered and everything installed by the end of this month here. So I'm giving it until then. We'll see where they get to. I'd like to see at least 3, ideally around 5 exahash getting installed. That'd be great. But we'll see. Okay. Mr. Robinson says, I recently sold Wolf and CORZ. Any other ideas to add miners to my portfolio except Cleanspark, Bitfarms, and IREN? Oh, gosh. Which other ones could do really well? Oh, man. I would say, if you sold Wolf and CORZ, I would maybe get into Marathon. Marathon might have a nice rocket up as well. You might start Still might get it like a 3 to 5x on that one. What else? Neil asks, "We doomed? Why are we doomed? And who's shorting? Stop shorting." Do you think there will be big selling pressure for December for securing profits? I think towards the end, yes, like the last week or 2 weeks, possibly. We saw that also last year. We saw that happening also. Price of Bitfarms at 10,000 BTC. I think they should be at least at that point, like $3 to $4, if not higher. They're way undervalued from where they really should be right now, as it is. Yes, their exahash is 11 exahash right now. But you got companies with much lower hash rate, not much lower, but lower hash rate, but are getting a much higher bid on the price, or at least not on the price, but on the market cap side of things. Where did it go? Okay. Do you think Riot is holding down the price of Bitfarms? It seems absurd for Bitfarms to be under $3. I don't think that they're holding it down, but I think that it's not a veil, not what I want to say, but that pressure from Riot being a large shareholder, having 19.9% of the shares there, might be a concern for investors. So they might be holding it down in that regard. But I don't think that Riot is selling it actively to keep the price down and buying it back when it's lower. I don't think they're doing that kind of stuff. Mr. Robinson asked, "Did you have a nice Halloween?" Yeah, we did. That's why we didn't stream last night, because we had family over, kids, got a little too much sugar. We were playing games, but it was a fun Halloween. Okay. What sectors or companies are you planning to invest your profits after the cycle? I know you are paying off some debts and home improvements, but would like to know what is your investment plan. My investment plan is probably, as I start dollar cost averaging out, is depending on the market and the economy and everything else that's going on, I may throw that just into the S&P 500, really, for the time being, until I figure out if I want to build, like real estate and sell it. Do I want to flip real estate, basically, rental properties, whatnot? But I want to diversify a little bit more going forward, and then keep, several $100,000 left after that to possibly invest in the next cycle as well. But we'll see. Okay. If you sell your Bitfarms next month, what will you put your money into? I'll put it into Cleanspark and IREN, probably, unless something else happens here with one of the other miners, right? If one of the other miners gets that HPCI deal, that's very, very lucrative for them, I may toss it into that. Okay. Will you hold your money in a high interest cash account waiting for a crash? No. I mean, how much can you get? You can get a couple percentage points while inflation's high. Well, inflation come down at least recently. So, yeah, I don't think so. I think I'd rather put it into the market, right? For me, it's I've learned timing the market is the bigger thing, not timing the market. So if I can be in the market for the next 15, 20 years or something like that, if we have a dip and I continue to buy into it, I'm going to do really well going forward. I'd rather put it in the market than go into cash. Ravi says, Riot is up 7% in the morning, but go down by the end of the market. Same story with Cleanspark and other miners. Observed this 2 months ago. Even when BTC go up, miners go down, diluting themselves or shorts. Could be a combination, diluting, pulling on that ATM for both of those companies and other companies as well. But you would think they would hold off a little bit because they know that Bitcoin's possibly going to be going up here. Why not wait a month or two before you need it? I mean, they all have really good balance sheets right now with cash and everything else. Do they really need to pull on that ATM right now? Probably not. Let's see. When is IREN's HPCI deal coming? Yeah, don't know. Will they actually get a good HPCI deal there? Don't know. Right? It might be one of those deals where they get bought out fully, or they might sell a site here or there to somebody that's got bigger pockets possibly. Let's see, Chester, thank you so much for the super chat. All the big institutions are buying OTC by the billions. The market is coiled spring, in my opinion. All the data shows things are repeating. Yeah, that'll be good. Whoop. Let's see here what happened. Mikey says, I've DC'd my Bitfarms to $2. Thoughts on price point with BTC? Yeah, I think it should be at least $3 to $4 at that point, right? I've been dollar cost averaging into Bitfarms since 2022, January of that year, and my average is like $1.65 right now. So I'm holding strong as it is. NGS, hi, so what are your thoughts on MicroStrategy versus Bitcoin miners? Since miners rely on Bitcoin price, would it be better to hold MicroStrategy instead? From my experience, MicroStrategy has provided better returns. Yes, recently in the last, I would say year to year and a half, MicroStrategy has probably provided better returns. But when you get into like the window of time frame that we're in right now, where we're in between November and maybe October of next year, somewhere around there, right? Roughly 11 months, I guess you could say. This is usually when the miners shine. And the reason they shine at this point is Bitcoin going up, like I said before, they're mining it at a much lower cost, whereas MicroStrategy is going to be buying it at those higher levels as Bitcoin goes up, right? They have 42 billion that they're trying to spend in the next couple of years, and they're going to be just buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes to 100,000, they're buying it. Bitcoin goes to 150,000, they're buying it. Bitcoin goes to 200,000, they're buying it. While the miners are mining it at 37,000, 35,000, whatever it might be, and they're making much larger profits at that point, making them much more profitable. So that's the kind of way to look at it. Let's see. Ed says, just wanted to let you know that I started to watch some of your old videos. You have improved so much and your confidence way better. Glad to see that. Yeah, thank you. Being in front of a camera was never appealing to me, but I wanted to get out of my own comfort zone. And I think I did that, and I've improved over the years. I've been doing this for now, I think 3 years. It's been a lot of fun. Met a lot of great people, like everybody here. I met people on Twitter and even being able to speak to some of the CEOs at the companies. It's been a lot of fun. It's also been challenging. It's also been a lot of time that I have to put into it, which I don't mind. I'm investing in these things anyways. I'm like, I might as well share the information that I have. But I love it. I enjoy it. But it's still odd to me to be speaking to a camera. It's like self-therapeutic, I guess. And then also, people always say that if you teach something to somebody else, you also retain it better than if you were just to read it and things like that. So that also helps me out. What is OTC? Over the counter. So that's what that means, over the counter. Why is Mike Alfred so bullish on Cipher compared to Bitfarms? Maybe he's got some inside information. I don't know. He keeps going on the HPC AI deal. He was right about Bitfarms and the issues with the board. I think with the board being resolved, the issues with Bitfarms is a much better play going forward than what it was, right? We did not have that information. I did not have that information. He had that information where he was saying that there was issues with the board, right? So he had that information. So it's always, listen to what he says. Don't take everything that he says with 100% certainty, but there are some crumbs in there that might bear fruit. And he was right about that. So I can't take that away from him. He was right that there were issues with the board. Well, I think the board has been now resolved. New CEO there as well. They purchased, there's a lot of good things going for Bitfarms, which I think eventually will bear fruit for us. Okay. I said, now, do you think end of November we get to 74,000 Bitcoin? We got pretty close in October here, right? We were at 73,000 something. We were off by $200 on the high. So I think so. If we go up 5%, something like that, we should get there. Sell Bitfarms and go to Hut 8 or no? Gosh, Hut 8, I mean, the only way I would go to Hut 8 is unless, if I thought that they had a huge HPC ideal potential there. That's the only way I would go into it. Otherwise, their businesses are managed services, hosting, and mining with their old rigs, right? Yes, they do have a contract in place with Bitmain to host their machines, roughly 15 exahash, but that's not going to be until sometime next year, and they have the option to buy those. Will they buy those? I highly doubt it. They haven't done anything here to improve their operations on Bitcoin mining at all in the last, basically 9 months, maybe more than that. We're going on 11 months here since Hut 8 took over, merged with Bitcoin, BTC, what is that? What company called before? US Bitcoin Mining, right? USBTC. And then Azure took over basically right after that. So they had all this time to possibly buy newer generation miners, replace some of the older machines there. They didn't do it. I just don't see them doing it. Okay. Why would we be in trouble with an extended cycle? Okay, the reason we would be in trouble with an extended cycle is because, let me see if I can maybe try to do this. Let me see if I can pull up my iPad here, see if this will work. I'll try to draw it out for you guys. Maybe that might be the way to go. Maybe. Let's see. Hold on. That's loading up on me right now. Just want to get a new page. Okay. Let's see if this works. I've tried it before. Well, I tried it like a week or two ago. Where's my iPad? There it is. Okay. Let's see if you guys can. Okay. So that's up here. Get rid of that. All right. So we have an extended cycle, right? The way an extended cycle is going to work out, Bitcoin's going to go basically much lower percentage-wise over the next year. So we're thinking like a 2 to 3x on Bitcoin here in the next year, right? What if we only go 1.5x? So basically we're getting only 200,000 by the end of the year. If we say that that's going to be the case, and then the following year we go to like 150,000, the following year after that we go to 200,000, right? What's going to happen here is the network hash rate is going to go like this, right, as well. And then you're going to have Bitcoin price also go up like this, more or less, right? So at that point, as the network hash rate here, and then you got BTC price right here, if those stay more or less in line, right, without having a huge catapult to the upside, the miner's going to be generating roughly around between probably $50 to $40 per hash price, right? So that's not great. We need that hash price to go up much higher. So what we need is hash to continue to increase, but we need Bitcoin to go up like this, right? At that point, the miners are making a heck of a lot more, which then we're going to be generating a heck of a lot more revenue as well. But if they're both going up, 50% a year or something like that, then yeah, it's not going to be great for us because the miners are not going to be generating that much revenue compared to what they would be if we have a nice parabolic rise in Bitcoin going from where we are right now to like 150, 180,000 or something like that. So that's the reason why we would maybe be in trouble at that point. And if that does happen, then I would be definitely looking to possibly get out of the miners and get into something like MicroStrategy at that point because you're not going to have those gains happening. Okay. Now, likes up the channel. Thank you so much, Sadie. I appreciate it. I'm not the greatest salesperson here. Let's see, your Hut 8, no way. They are pretty much not a miner now, and there's no reason they pumped from what I can see. There's no reason they pumped, yeah, but HPCI, that's the reason they pumped. You had Code 2 invest in them. You now have Anthony Pompiliano pumping them as well. So you got that happening for him. Let's see, Revis asks, are you on Twitter dropping your thoughts on market before the detailed videos or on the days when you can't make the videos? I'm looking for your daily videos every day. Thank you. I do videos, but I also provide some thoughts on it on X. If I have any thoughts, like I had thoughts on Bitfarms today's release, so I just kind of posted it on there. And I do provide sometimes just charts and things that I'm just seeing in the markets in general, whether it's HPCI related, things like that. But yeah, most of the stuff that I provide for you guys here is on YouTube. Let's see. Ed says, you have come a long way, so please come up with an idea to keep running this channel and don't stop once the cycle is over. I'm not going to stop. I don't plan on it unless it's completely a different cycle, right? Where if it's an extended cycle, we'll keep an eye on things, but man, it's going to be really tough to get a 3-5x return on these miners unless they really do get HPCI deals or like grow like crazy. But even at that point, I mean, you're battling with everybody else. Now you're hearing all this talk about nation states getting into Bitcoin mining as well, which I have some reserves about that as well. It might be easier just for the nation states to buy Bitcoin. Why would they invest, hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars to buy infrastructure, build it out, install machines, and then have to redo that cycle over? They'd be better off possibly buying Bitcoin at that point. Less headaches, less, especially in some of these companies that have corruption and everything else like that. I could just see some mining farms being half of it being into somebody else, half of it going to somebody else. I mean, you see that all over the place. So I don't know. I'm just on the fence on that one still. Okay. Would make a lot more of sense, in my opinion, for MicroStrategy to spend $5 billion on miners so they can secure that Bitcoin and get those BTC at a low cost. Then they could also add HPC for their main business. That would be an interesting thought there, right? Roger says, I think we go into a super cycle, to be honest. When gold got the ETF, it went on an 8-year bull run. BlackRock is buying hundreds of millions of BTC a day, more than miners mine. Yeah. too much demand, no supply. I mean, that would be great, but we're just not seeing it yet, right? They've been buying like crazy here. Yeah, the miners are only generating, well, in general, 450 Bitcoin a day, roughly, and they're buying up bunches of it. Where is that coming from? Is it all paper? I don't know. Okay. Ravi says, can't see anything to the white screen. Hopefully you guys saw my little doodles there. When was an extended cycle before? The last cycle, when I'm referring to it like an extended cycle, we're talking about gold, right? When the ETFs came out for gold, that had an extended cycle. That was like a 5 to 6 years, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it's like 5 or 6 years where gold just continued to go up. And that's the concern here with the ETFs, with Bitcoin, for me at least, is, will we have an extended cycle? That's why I'm really monitoring what's going on each month here and trying to compare it to other months, right, in the years past, just to see if we're at least holding some kind of semblance of being in the same place in the prior cycles, right? So I'm really keeping track of this stuff here because if things start to get a little wacky, where, you know, we might be going up a little, you know, these small percentage gains, 7%, 10% that we saw in September and October, and they're just extended over a longer period of time, that's not going to bode well for us. But that's just my thoughts. I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of what I'm thinking on it is going to happen based on what I know about the dynamics of Bitcoin mining, the price, the hash rate, all that stuff that goes into it. Okay, what else we got? Let's see. HUD 8 has a huge pile of BTC, and if BTC gets to real high valuations, then any company holding BTC will hit big. Yes, they do have a huge HODL at about 9,000. They haven't been growing their HODL at all. It's actually been decreasing. It's kind of flatlined here in the last couple of months, so that's at least good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You would think they would be. I mean, time will tell. I guess we'll see. But I think most of the time when you're getting to the bull cycle, people or investors are looking for growth in miners, the ones that are growing. I mean, they've been at 5 exahash for probably a year now, and they have old machines too. How much longer can you run those things before they hit the ground basically? Yeah, time will tell. As per your drawing, if miners started to go out of business, then the demand will surpass the supply, and BTC price will skyrocket, which will bring miners back to business. It's like we are circling. Let me see if I understand that right. As per your drawing, miners started to go out of business. I mean, that's if miners go out of business, right? But if they're still generating revenue, and they can at least keep the lights on and pay for things, they're going to continue to mine, right? It's some of the miners that are not as well capitalized that might go out of business, which then would bode well for the miners that are still mining, but yet still, you need that parabolic rise in Bitcoin in order for it to make sense for these miners to operate at all, because that's what they're building out towards. They're, building out in the bear market, getting into potentially after the halving event, building out towards that into the bull run to reap as much of the rewards as they possibly can at that point. To Ed, thank you, Seb. It's past 12 in Ontario. Have a good night. You too. Thank you so much for coming in. I think I've caught up to all your guys' questions here, so we're going to call it a day. But yeah, we'll see what happens next week. We're going to talk. I'll do a stream probably on Sunday as well, as like we always do. We'll cover what happened this week with the miners versus Bitcoin. We'll see which ones did better or worse. And that's basically it, I think. We're going to wait out all the miners to report their quarterly results. Then we'll do some metrics on that. We'll do some data analysis on that as well. And then we'll have more updates coming later on this week from the other miners. So that'll be interesting to see how they did. I saw somebody, I think, tweeted or was it on the Discord server that I have? But somebody posted that it looks like Cleanspark maybe beat Marathon for Mara Pool for BTC Mine this month. That would be kind of interesting. We'll see if that happens. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. Love you all. Have a great weekend. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope it's nice weather by you guys. Go outside, enjoy it. We'll be back here on Sunday, and then we'll see what the week brings us next week. All right. I'll see you guys then.